Hi everyone, welcome. Who am I talking to today? I am talking to anyone who is feeling overwhelmed by the current state of the world and because of that is feeling pretty lonely and pretty isolated. My name is Catherine Hubert. I am a small business owner in Greensboro, North Carolina. I have a French-inspired cafe that is dedicated to changing the way that the restaurant industry works as a whole, seeking out a better quality of life for myself and for my team. And then we're also dedicated to changing the way that our world both views and employs people with disabilities. We have an integrated hiring model, which means 50% of my team is disabled and 50% of my team is non-disabled. We've been open for just over 6 years. And this channel is a space where you get invited into the community that we're creating here, and then also my internal thought process as a business owner who's constantly checking my own bias and letting that bump up against things in my mind and in my heart, and then figuring out how that translates into my business. So why am I sitting on my kitchen floor today talking to you about community? I have been doing quite a bit of reflecting with the changeover from 2024 to 2025. I know that it's the beginning of February now, so you might be like, my friend, you are a little bit late to the game. I am aware of that. It has taken me a beat to kind of catch my breath post holidays and then post inauguration. And then here we are and trying to figure out what life looks like this year and the things that I'm hoping and dreaming for myself and the things that I'm hoping and dreaming for my business. And in that, like as the year turns over every year, I look back at the past year and I look at the goals and the hopes that I had, and I get real with where did I feel like I accomplished goals, where did I feel like I didn't grow in the ways that I wanted to, what do I want to carry over to the new year, what needs to be let go of, and then what are the new things that I want to look forward to. This is Avery over here. She's my dog, and she loves to be at least in the same room with me. And as I've been doing that with last year going into this year, I've honestly felt pretty frustrated and pretty sad with where things are at. And that doesn't mean that there wasn't any growth. That doesn't mean that there wasn't any goodness. There were both of those things. But feeling like, wow, I just spent all of last year working really, really hard to try to get to some specific goals with a specific quality of life in mind for myself and my team. And then feeling like I'm not there and I'm going to need to work really hard again this year. And that I've been doing that now for 7 years for me. I've been working for myself for 7 years and then 6 years as a business. And so there was just this feeling of, is it just that I haven't made it yet? That if I keep putting in the time and I keep doing the hard work and I keep setting the goals, I'm going to get there. I just am not where I want to be yet. Or am I chasing a moving target and goals that aren't going to be really attainable for me? And I don't fully know the answer to those questions yet, to be honest. But as I've been sitting with it and sitting with this feeling of, yes, being a business owner is hard. Working in the restaurant industry and owning a restaurant is hard. Trying to change the way that our culture sees and does something is hard. But I don't want to give up on any of those things. I'm invested and I love and I care about all of those areas of life, and I'm really committed and dedicated to them. So I don't want to let them go. I don't want to give up. But then taking a step back and being like, okay, what do I actually need in order to keep putting in that hard work? And the number one thing that I kept landing on was community and feeling like I'm not alone in the process. So that has spurred on this thought process of what does it actually look like to be a participant in community, and why I don't think I'm alone in this. Does that feel like that's such a vital need right now with the world the way that it is? And so those are the things we're going to talk about today. So I've been learning the need for community is there. What does that then actually look like? And why does that need feel so big? I think a big part of it is that American culture, at least in particular, it's capitalistic. It's very independent. It's a every man for himself, survival of the fittest. We pride ourselves on our individuality, and if you're successful, it's because you're successful, and then you own and you hold on to your success as your own. It's not a very sharing culture in general. so we've lost, I think, a lot of the beauty of being humans that get to exist in a world together, and this idea of more communal living or more neighborhood-based living where you do things together. There's an emphasis on the together piece instead of on the individual piece, where you're sharing life together, where you're linking arms and resources, where there's an ability to understand what someone else is going through, because most likely you're going through it too, because of the proximity of life and time and experiences that are shared. And as we've become more separate in how we live our lives and how we do our work, I think we then have tried to manufacture community in different aspects. And while I think that fits a need, I don't think it fits the full need, because it's still pretty compartmentalized and it's still pretty isolated. And that's something that I feel like I'm experiencing, because as you're hearing me say this, you might be like, but you have a lot of community. You have this giant restaurant community where you have a team of people and you have all these guests, and that's so true. And none of them come home with me at the end of the night. And I live alone. I am single. I don't have my own family. And that's primarily because I put a lot of time and effort and energy into creating the work that I have and the community that I have there. But that means that there are a lot of people who know a lot about a specific part of my life, but aren't connected to so much of the rest of it. And then I have other people in my life who may be connected to something over here, but have no idea really about what the day-to-day of work looks like. I don't think that means that ideal community means we share every aspect of our life with the people that are in our community. But I do think that there's room for us to do more of that and to link arms with people who are going through similar experiences for the purpose of connection and really stabilization and supporting one another. That's one benefit of community, right? Like, we get to build connection, a sense of being known, of knowing other people, of relatability, and of support. We're not an island. We're not doing this alone. There's an element of I'm able to persevere and do things that I maybe wouldn't be able to on my own because of the support and the care in many different capacities of the people that are around me, and vice versa. I'm also doing that for other people. I think another element of that is it's very easy, and this is something that I feel like I really experienced, and I also know I'm not alone in this, in the election of we can be very easily siloed based on where we're getting our information, who we're talking to, the people that we're directly exposed to. And when we live in a more individualistic culture, we are cutting ourselves off from seeing and understanding and experiencing the thoughts and the experiences of other people around us. And that can create a distortion of what reality actually is and looks like. And it also creates barriers and blocks us from having more conversation and ultimately seeing more change and growth within our communities, because we're not really coming together around common purposes or common connections the way that I think we used to. So, hey, for your ears in the video. I know you don't understand that. For this week's Brain Break, we're doing a sneak peek into Wednesday at the restaurant. We tend to be busier for lunch on our weekdays, and this Wednesday was no exception. We were busy getting ready for freezer meal pickups and prep for a few catering orders coming up too. One of my favorite things about our space is all the windows and plants. Some of these plants have been with us since day one, and watching them grow has been such a powerful reminder of the ways we've grown as a business and team too. So, all of that rambling aside, I think community is such an important need right now because, one, I know I and other people that I'm talking to are feeling isolated and are feeling alone and are struggling with the mental and emotional weight of that. And then I think our communities and cities as a whole are suffering as well because we're not as strong as we would be if we were actually pulling together. On a really practical level, like being a downtown business owner in Greensboro is really hard. And I think there's room for us to support and cheer and champion each other on in very unique ways that nobody else would be if we were more like rallied and pulled together. So that's something that I want to try to do this year. But practically, it's like our whole city would thrive better if all of our downtown restaurants and businesses were thriving too. But when we're all on our own little trajectory, it makes it really hard to see this like forward momentum and growth. And then secondly, in our communities, having things that are actually uniting us and bringing us together and allowing us to understand and know our neighbors and to care for and support one another gives this opportunity of understanding what's important, what the needs are, what the concerns are, how to problem solve them, how to problem solve in a way that is actually supportive and caring. It opens our eyes and expands the possibilities of what could be, because there's actual real dialogue and understanding that's happening first. So back to the basics of the beginning. I'm here talking to you because I want more community in my life, because I want more vibrancy in relationships, because I want to see something better for myself and for the city that I live in and for the world that I live in. And I think if you're here too and you've made it this far, then that is probably true of you as well. I think that there can be a lot of value in doing that through both virtual and in-person ways. There's so much benefit to getting to share that in person, but I also think there's a lot of benefit that can come from virtual spaces as well. And I know that even though this channel is small, it's allowed me to connect to people that I never would have connected to before. And it's allowed me to understand and know people that I never would have been able to before. And there's been like this linking of arms and hearts through an online space that can, I think, really help add to and nourish and bolster some of these other like in-person connections that we're trying to make as well. So whether I know you in person or I know you here through this virtual space, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. As scared and overwhelmed and stressed as I am about many of the things that I want to see and tackle this year, I also am hopeful and excited about the friends that I'll make, about the community that I'll get to build, and hopefully the seeds that will get planted for future change that I want to see. That's it. Thanks for being here. Chez, Genèse teammates, your keyword for this week is hope. All right, Insecurity Corner this week. I have been avoiding the Greensboro Public Library for about a decade because of an accidental lost book that wasn't even my book that accumulated a fine significant enough that I could no longer check out books on my library card. And at the time, little Catherine was too ashamed and embarrassed to go to the library and admit that I needed to pay off the fine in order to reuse my card. And I was also a broke college student who didn't have the extra money to pay off the fine to use my library card. So I've just been avoiding it. But this year, I put it on my goals. I was like, I want to go back to the library, face the music. I'm going to pay off my debts. I'm going to get to reinstate my library card because I want to start utilizing the library as a resource and be able to check out books instead of buying books every time I want to read something. So I went back, and it had been so long since I had used my card that I was not even in the system anymore. And so I didn't owe any money. The library doesn't even do fees anymore. And I'm all good to go. Now I have new books, and I'm so excited. I did the hard thing.